Yeah, I remember a few years back, Akon was saying that he was planning on building a city in Africa. I forget exactly which country, but I know he was saying he was going to build a city in Africa, and I'm pretty sure he got the financing for it, and he might have even started the construction of some of the buildings. But since then, it's been years since I've heard about any progress. And generally speaking, in these types of situations, if you haven't heard of any progress, there probably hasn't been any progress.
This Grammy-nominated singer promised to build a $6 billion futuristic city that was sold like a real-life Wakanda. However, 5 years later, one single building has been built. And somehow, there's also a bunch of angry investors who lost everything in a failed cryptocurrency project. And this is all revolving this one building. So,
Bro, what even is this building? Where's the money, Akon? Where's the money, Akon? There's a guy in America right now, a black man in America right now, that's been saying he's going to build a school for the past 15 years, and he's collected hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially even millions of dollars over that 15 years, and still hasn't built the school. Where's the money, Akon? This ain't it, brother. $6 billion? What even is this building?
Today, we're going to take a look at what in the tomfoolery happened here, because it's safe to say we have quite the insane story to talk about today. And before we dive into what's wrong, it's worth understanding why people took this project seriously in the first place. You see, Akon isn't just some random celebrity making wild promises while throwing money around for publicity. He has a little bit of a track record for doing projects in Africa, which helped him get this contract to begin with. To go way back, he was born in Missouri and became a prominent name in the music industry after his single Locked Up gained popularity in 2004. However, although Akon is originally from Missouri, he actually grew up and spent part of his childhood in Senegal until he was 7 years old. So more than a lot of people, he has some firsthand experience of what life is like without basic infrastructure, like most of us honestly kind of take for granted. So
yes, and a lot of Americans do take it for granted. Like in America, you have drinkable bath water. Like you can drink the water that you shower with. Now you might get a little fluoride in your diet, you might get a little fluoride in you, but it's drinkable. Like people don't understand how rare that is. Usually, and from my anecdotal experience, the people who talk the worst about America are people who have never left and seen what the rest of the world actually looks like. Because for the most part, you're going to realize that we ain't got it that bad. It could definitely be worse.
Because of this, growing up, he experienced what it was like living in complete darkness once the sun went down. No running water, no electricity, and no power grid. With local businesses shutting down at night, families were forced to use candles and kerosene lamps to get everything done, which was not only inconvenient, but dangerous as well. Moving forward, in 2014, after establishing himself in the music industry, Akon launched this project called Akon Lighting Africa, in which he proved that he could deliver significant benefits to these people, not only in the country that he grew up in, but also across the whole continent. And this is where things actually started to get a little bit impressive, because just in the first year, he brought solar energy to 14 different African nations. There were certainly critics who questioned various aspects of the project, especially its involvement with Chinese government-owned construction firms. But still, ultimately, it was the communities themselves that benefited the most.
And I'm happy he's saying this because this gives a lot of context. Like, Akon didn't just get $6 billion because he was a singer or because he was a celebrity. Akon got the $6 billion loan because he built his credibility from doing other projects. Now, in that time, he was working with China when he was doing those projects, but at the end of the day, he was still doing a lot of great things for Africa as a continent, like as a whole, not just individual countries, but Africa as a continent. And so he had some credibility. Now, I'm not sure what happened with this story. Maybe he was just being too ambitious. He thought he could actually deliver on his promises, but there's a big difference from street lights and doing like solar panels to building an entire city. So maybe he was just being too ambitious, but I'm interested to hear the rest of the story.
Solar electricity enabled vendors to operate longer hours, allowed kids to study after dark, and provided solar-powered streetlights, which in turn decreased crime rates due to increased visibility. So by 2016, Akon Lighting Africa had installed 100,000 solar-powered street lamps and 1,200 solar microgrids, creating more than 5,500 jobs in the process. And as a result, an estimated of 28.8 million people gained access to electricity due to his efforts.
Impressive.
And obviously, that's not nothing. That's worth giving praise for. And it was this success that gave him the credibility to pitch his next very grand project. So when Akon announced he wanted to build an entire city, people listened. Following the success of the lighting project, Akon went on to this publicity tour in 2020. And during this, he announced this futuristic utopian city called Project Akon.
From what I understand, the president of Senegal gave you 3 square miles of land. Well, this is the thing. I had to actually buy the land, so it wasn't gifted to me. What the president and the government are doing, they're actually laying the foundation for all the infrastructure, like
Okay.
the basic sewage, electricity, all the things that have to be set forth for me to build the city on top of. And they're giving me 100% full, support.
So it's going to include roads, a hospital,
Right.
houses,
Right.
hotels,
Yeah.
a police station, a waste facility,
Yeah.
a school, and a solar power plant, of course.
Solar power plants, theme
See,
parks.
yeah,
Theme
see, you
parks.
see how Vlad laughed a little bit at the end of what he just said there? I don't think that Vlad actually believes what he's saying. Because honestly, all of the stuff he just listed plus a theme park, I don't know how far $6 billion can go, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be able to go that far, especially when you think they're probably building a lot of this infrastructure from scratch. Like, you got to think about the electricity, the electrical grid. You got to think about the plumbing. And I'm sure if there's some people out there, y'all going to know a lot more about all of this stuff that goes into building a city than I am. But $6 billion just doesn't seem like enough money to do all the things you would need to build an entire city. And I think Vlad seems to be mocking him a little bit, looking at this as a little bit of a scam.
All that, man. Boat docks.
And it's called Akon City.
It's the Akon City. Yeah. That's phase one.
Akon City.
You see, the plan here was to build the city on a 3 square mile plot, approximately 60 miles from Dakar, or Senegal's capital.
Well, I guess a 3 mile plot isn't that big. That's actually not that big, so maybe. I just don't know the scaling of all of this.
Even though 3 square miles might not sound huge, that's roughly 6 times the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And this was supposed to be, phase 1 of a multi-phase plan that would eventually expand much further. The renderings, honestly, kind of look promising. Modern skyscrapers here.
Come on, man. This looks promising. This looks like something that ChatGPT spit out from 2020. 2020 ChatGPT spit this image out and people thought that this looked promising. These buildings don't even look like they have windows. What is going on here?
Futuristic architect, green spaces, honestly everything you would expect from a city that's essentially being branded as like Africa's Dubai and the real life version of Wakanda. And
Yeah, well, their immigration policy is going to be insane. People were angry at Trump for trying to build a wall. He's going to have to build a force field.
The city was designed to have 5 distinct districts. You have this African village district that would feature modern waterfront homes and a sprawling, all-inclusive resort. Then you would have the entertainment district, which would house a cutting-edge, multi-purpose stadium and a massive casino. Then
Why do all the buildings have to look like that? I feel like you're already doing something that's challenging with trying to build a city in the first place. Why would you make it look so complicated? And why would you make it so much more complicated with just the architecture alone? I just don't understand why you would do, like, why wouldn't you just start with like a town and then you expand that? You get like a grocery store and then you get a hospital, a police force, and you just keep expanding that and building on the grid and building on the infrastructure. That seems like that makes a lot more sense than going out on this type of a leap. I mean, just looking at this, the potential risk of it not working doesn't seem like it's worth the potential gain if it does work. It just seems like it would be a bad investment just looking at it. And now I'm starting to question the people who are investing in this, because maybe this was a scam from the beginning and the people who were investing in this was in on the scam in some type of way.
you have the tech district that was supposed to become like the Silicon Valley of Africa, where groundbreaking technologies would emerge to help save the future. Then you would have the health and safety district that would provide essential services like police stations, fire departments, and a general hospital. Then you would have the education district that would offer comprehensive learning opportunities for children and adults. And finally, the Senwood district. That would be
Bro, come on now, man. Look at this. This looks like Bikini Bottom when it got covered in chrome. If I had $50 billion, or if I was smart enough to gain $50 billion, and somebody brought up an AI mock-up of this picture and said, can I have 6 of your $50 billion to build this city? There's no way they get that money from me. This looks silly. I mean, look at how these buildings are actually built. It doesn't even really look practical if you look at it. I'm definitely starting to think that these investors are somehow in on the scam. I think this is a big old scam now.
Filming studios, offices, and residential spaces, all topped off with the Akon Tower, which would rise above the whole skyline.
Of course.
But if that doesn't sound bold enough, there were some red flags that started waving on the horizon, because shortly after the announcement of this new project, Akon also revealed that this city, it would operate with its own currency, or even better, it would operate with its own cryptocurrency called Acoin. Acoin was intended to be a stellar-based cryptocurrency specifically designed for African entrepreneurs. And
every time I hear of a crypto coin, I just think of a rug pull every time. I think it just comes in different flavors. I think maybe the city was the sell behind the coin and the coin was the actual scam. And so a bunch of money got pulled into the coin. And then when people started to invest in the coin, they pulled the rug from underneath it. That's just what I'm assuming, because that building was not $6 billion worth of building. So where did the money go? Where did the money go, Akon? This is starting to look like it was all rigged up, like the city was the idea to back the coin, and the coin was just an elaborate rug pull. This just looks like an elaborate rug pull.
And as soon as you attach identity to money, you pretty much know it's a scam. It was pitched like it would serve as like a more stable common medium of exchange between Africa's 54 countries, many of which struggle with high volatile local currencies.
Exactly.
And while that may be true, there's nothing like trying to combat volatile local currencies with a speculative low cap crypto
Exactly.
coin. Come on. This has scam written all over it. That's just my opinion though.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
now, to be fair, Africa has a massive problem with banking. So using digital currencies and apps makes sense rather than traditional banking.
Well, Africa has a bunch of problems with corruption too, especially in politics. Like as a continent, they have a lot of problems with that. And I know the U.S. as a country has our problems. But man, oh man, I've been to Kenya multiple times. Like I've been there 5 or 6 times now, and there's definitely a lot of political corruption going on in the entire continent of Africa.
That doesn't mean that you go ahead and launch some low cap coin and saying that it's going to be the currency of the city that hasn't even been built yet. That just comes across as a massive cash grab and scam. But just like basically everything else I cover here on this channel, it gets worse. Because before launching a coin on a major cryptocurrency exchange, Akon's team announced a campaign called Token of Appreciation. And this was treated like a donation drive where people could, I guess, get early Acoin.
Oh man, Akon starting to sound like Akon. Like I don't know what's going on here.
They were promised 4 Acoins for every dollar they spent. So when Acoin finally launched on major crypto exchanges in early 2021, it peaked at about 58 cents per coin. And for the Token of Appreciation holders who bought it early, they made about 130% gain until, you know, the thing that always happens with these coins when it inevitably dumps. Yeah, it didn't take long. The price began spiraling down roughly to 10 cents per coin, and then the TOA holders went from like 132% gain to a 60% loss practically overnight. People were understandably very upset about this. But no fear, because Acoin admins, they offered refunds to the initial donors. And when Akon was directly asked about these refund issues, this was his response.
Were you aware of that?
No, that I wasn't aware, because I know all the people that I knew that was on record. We definitely met with everybody, and this was the agreement that was actually agreed on. So if there was anyone outside of that, I definitely wasn't aware.
And those people who asked for their money back and were expecting it a year ago, when will they receive their money?
Well, that I'm just literally on everything finding out. So I'm gonna definitely get more involved and figure out what that's about. But
yeah, you're never gonna get that money back. You invested in a coin. You're not gonna get that money back, brother. It's over with for you.
Do have instruments in place to make sure those people are happy.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
On my own pocket. I'm dead serious.
You'll pay out of your own pocket.
Hell yeah, I would, because they believed in me. Why wouldn't I?
Look, I'm sure Akon is doing well. I'm sure he's doing better than the Poor Man's Podcast. But I don't think that Akon is gonna have the tens of millions of dollars to give back to the people out of his pocket that invested in his Acoin. And now that I think about it, all of his motives are kind of put into question, right? Because when you want to help people, especially poor people, you go back and do more lights, you do more plumbing, you try to find a way to give them consistent water, maybe even running water. Work on basic infrastructure, build on the things or invest in the things partially that they already have. Nobody helps the poor by building a super tech city and inviting people from all over the world to come live in this super tech city that none of the locals can afford, that will probably eventually get more wealthy and have more power than the entire country at some point. Like that's not even really how you help the poor people in the country, if I'm just completely honest. So even from the get-go, it does seem a little bit odd. And that's me being generous. I don't even think he actually planned on building that for the tech bros. I think that was even just a plot. Like I'm looking at the map behind Atozi would be a better layout for a city map. I would probably be more likely to invest in that map than the AI draft up that Akon showed those investors. It just seems like the jig is up here.
okay, that was kind of an evil laugh.
Yeah, we
And,
still waiting for Logan Paul.
I couldn't find any proof of him paying anyone back. So, take that how you want. But he's claiming he had no idea there was problems with the refunds, which, I mean, you know, if you're running some cryptocurrency project, it seems like, number one, that's something that shouldn't really happen. But if it is happening, you should probably be aware of that. Obviously, it just gets worse because the coin eventually crashed to fractions of a cent, representing
always
essentially
aware
like
of
a
it.
complete loss for all the investors. And
Crazy.
currently, Acoin isn't even listed on any cryptocurrency exchange. You can't buy, sell, or use it anywhere. It's completely worthless.
Yeah.
While that was going on over here, what was happening with the actual construction of the city? Well, if you want the short answer, nothing. Absolutely
it's over.
nothing.
It's
Look
over.
at this. This is an embarrassment.
It's
It
a
almost
shell.
seems like the entire Akon City project was announced and promoted so they could pump and dump a crypto coin.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think too. I think the Akon City was just a pipe dream just to hype up the coin and for people to believe in the coin. And I think because there are a lot of people that want to see Africa become more prosperous as a continent. And I know that there are places, especially like Nairobi, Kenya, that has done a really good job over the past 10 years at developing their infrastructure. They're working with China a little bit, but there's a lot of people who want this thing to happen is basically what I'm saying. And if it did happen, I think that it'd be cool. And if they allowed for me to come with their immigration policy, I don't know what that would look like, but I would definitely be willing to visit if they would give me a visa. But it just seems so far-fetched, in my opinion, just looking at it. It reminds me of The Line in Dubai. That project, it reminded me of that.
Word. Seems like, don't sue me. I don't know, I'm just calling a spade over here. But obviously, remember those futuristic renderings and promises of a completed phase 1 by 2024? Yeah, there's a picture that recently went viral showing the current state of Akon City, and it's depressing, and that's putting it
man.
lightly. And apparently this building is a recreational center, an unfinished recreational center.
It's funny because that was probably the most simple structure that he actually showed, a recreational center. This man was just talking about building state-of-the-art tech facilities. And they couldn't even get done with the recreational center like that. For a recreational center, you damn near don't even need anything. That's like some hardwood and some ping pong tables.
Nice. $6
hardwood.
billion, and this is all they got. I've seen Amish people put up a house in like 48 hours.
Right.
Meanwhile, this is what we got for $6 billion. But I mean, hey, at least construction has begun. The first phase was supposed to be built on 55 hectares of land, eventually expanding to 500 hectares by the end of the decade. Instead, we got one building and a bunch of empty fields. So Senegal's tourism board, SAPCO, was actually backing the project, and they were initially all in on supporting Akon. However, by 2024, SAPCO allegedly began to lose patience with the lack of progress. They reportedly sent Akon a formal notice that if the project hasn't advanced by the end of the year, his contract would be terminated. And
And so to keep the crypto coin going so he could do the rug pull, he probably just like, let me reach out to somebody, one of these construction companies, to get started on something to show them at the very least we started.
looking at this this single house that's sitting on this plot of land, it looks like that's exactly what happened. Because according to blackenterprise.com in August of 2024, Akon was warned that missing deadlines and payment schedules to SAPCO could result in forfeiture of the property. And since Akon missed those payments, most of the land was reclaimed by the government. Okay, so we have this guy whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I don't want to offend him, but he's the head of SAPCO, and he made it official. I guess instead of this like new futuristic mega city, SAPCO is now planning to spend about $1.2 billion transforming this area into a more traditional tourism hub, featuring hotels, apartments, a marina, and a promenade connecting nearby.
Now that seems more realistic. $1.2 billion just to turn it into more of a tourism hub. Yeah, that makes way more sense than trying to build an entire city off of $6 billion. That makes sense to me, yeah.
Lagoon. So the government expects a new plan to create approximately 15,000 jobs in the first phase, a figure that may actually materialize, unlike, you know, the Akon City promise. So Mayor Alpha Sam seemed pretty relieved about this new direction, saying, in quote, "May this resort serve as a model for success in Senegal, a hub of tourism and a source of economic opportunity." And Jean Wally Seen, a local school teacher and resident, probably summed up how everyone was feeling. For a very long time, people, including Akon, have been coming and trying to sell us dreams and illusions. Finally, there's a dream for Mubadeen that we dare to believe in. But ultimately, In a surprising turn of events, during a recent interview on Mina's House podcast, Akon claims the reports about the city construction being canceled are simply media misinformation, and that despite any article, the project is still ongoing.
Listen, I got teams on it trying to combat all the negative, false information that these people are putting out. And just last week, we had over 23 million false ads on Akon City, just negative.
Where is that coming from?
It's the agendas, the powers that be.
It's the agendas.
That's how it works.
Okay.
You know, when they want to destroy something that can change the minds or the mindset of people, that's how they do it. Through the media.
So according to Akon, all of the reporting from BBC News and all the other outlets about the project being canceled is merely propaganda intended to discredit the project and discredit Africa as a whole.
That's exactly what it is. He's trying to do the agenda is holding us down thing. And it's like, no, people that do the exact type of thing that you just did is what holds us down and what holds us back.
Okay. He's not providing specific details about the construction progress, timelines, or address the fact that Sapco has officially stated that the project no longer exists. Instead, he's talking about dreams becoming reality and saying there's some sort of coordinated misinformation campaign against him. Akon at this point is just kind of coming across as the embodiment of this meme.
Corruption is not bad. Corruption is only bad if I'm not involved.
Yes.
But if I'm part of that corruption, I'll defend it.
Which
they're supposed to start I know about mob justice in Africa. They're supposed to start hitting them over the head for saying something like that. That's crazy.
Point is kind of depressing because you can just add him to the list as another person who's taking advantage of Africa as a continent, because overall as a continent, it's just sadly so disgustingly plagued by corruption and scammery. Even though it's worth recognizing all the initiatives that Akon has undertaken on the continent over the last few years, especially with his Lighting Africa project, that was not only successful, it actually helped millions of people. But either way, it is just undeniable on how hard Akon fumbled Akon City. He fumbled it so hard that it just does not look good at all. Because at the end of the day, Akon City feels like a classic case of someone getting carried away with their past success and biting off way more than what they could chew. And that is honestly the best case scenario. The worst case scenario would be, you know, a full-on scam. But who knows? I don't have enough information to make a full judgment here, but it doesn't look good. And unfortunately, I guess dreams can also sometimes just be dreams, and turning them into reality requires more than just some good intentions and celebrity status. And for the people of Senegal who was hoping this project was going to bring jobs and economic development to their region, well, at least the new government's plan seems more realistic and might actually happen. Or maybe it might just be another rinse and repeat. Who knows? Maybe we'll check back in with a new video 5 years from now. But either way, that's how Akon's $6 billion future city became a single building in an empty field, and how he joined the long list of celebrities to drop a completely worthless cryptocurrency.
Yeah, Akon City was Akon. I don't know why that isn't surprising. As soon as I didn't hear any updates or any progress reports on it for years, I kind of figured that it fell through. Let me know in the comments below if this video is a W or L, and give me the HBO special. That's out, brother. I'll especially hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.